Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. It's October. How exciting is that? I flipping love October. It is the season of, I was going to say pumpkin spice, but I don't really care for pumpkin spice lattes. Just realized that I've alienated about a third of my audience there. But it is the season of Halloween, and I really love Halloween. I love the fireworks season that is upcoming. I love the fact that evenings are getting shorter. I feel absolutely a-okay. We're sitting at home in the evenings now, just curling up with a good book, and I'm starting to wish that I had a fire. You know, it's that time of year where I'm like, oh, I would love a crackling fire and stuff. And instead I've had to, I don't know, convince myself that a woodwick candle is the same thing. If you have not heard of woodwick candles, they're sold by a company called Yankee Candle here in the UK, and they have a wooden wick and it crackles like having a fire. So sometimes I do sit here and I've just got my candles on and I'm reading a book and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's like I'm about 85. So here we are in October, and this is this is an incredibly important episode for me. This is a question that I heard all summer, and this is something that I want to be very, very clear on answering as we go into 2020, because we are solidly in that final quarter of the year now. Things are changing, and particularly in the UK, we are in a very, very difficult and challenging political landscape. Now, obviously, at the time of recording this, I am recording Bojo was just made Prime Minister. I don't know if I can say that any more disdainfully. Okay, but I can give it a try. But that's when I'm recording, and so I'm looking at this upcoming few months as being a very challenging political landscape, which obviously means that it becomes even more of a challenging economical landscape. And that means as business owners, we need to be looking at the realities of the situations that we're in. Now, I kind of feel like I've been talking about this all year anyway. All year, I've been the harbinger of doom, saying things like, Brexit is going to cause problems for people who are selling, the economical and political landscape across the world, with the current world leadership, with things that we are seeing, with the changes over the last couple of years and the issues that have been raised in certain industries. I've been that person for a whole year now that has gone, oh, it's not good. Things are not okay. We need to work on that. And it's actually not a very nice person to have to be, if I'm honest. It makes me feel a little bit like I'm always moaning. But it's really, really important for me that we start having this open conversation about, are people spending less money? And I was reading an article recently because I'm, I like I say, the biggest question I've had all summer has been, where do I find high ticket clients? And that's what everybody's asking me. Where do I find rich people who want to pay me a ton of money? And I'm like, I don't know, but when you find them, send them my way, share the wealth. That's a joke. But it's true, everybody is kind of getting very fearful around where their sales are going to come from. And actually, it's had a few impacts on the market. I've seen a lot of people preaching collaboration over competition and not acting in that way at all. They want collaboration. They want other people to promote their stuff. But when it comes to them promoting yours, it's a big fat no. I've seen people get a lot more concerned about sharing things with their communities because mistakenly they feel that if they share something of interest, they share a relevant article, or they share a training from somebody or whatever it is, that they feel like their audience might leave and then they'll buy from that person and not from them. And actually, business owners have become a lot more fearful around, the kind of activities that they're doing. Nobody wants to piss off their audience anymore. And I suppose that's quite a good thing, but also it's really made it a very dull place to be, because everyone's so worried that if they annoy a customer, or if they, you know, annoy somebody who's never actually bought from them but is consuming a lot of their free stuff, then they're not going to get that sale. And people are really, really focusing on saving the sale, making sure that they're as nice as pie so that everybody buys from them. And then what actually happens, obviously, is the complete opposite. Nobody wants to buy from you if you are Vanilla Valerie. Yes, it was just very difficult for me to come up with a V name on the spot. But this is the thing. I think we have to start having this honest conversation. Are people actually spending less? Like, is this a reality now? And it's interesting for me because whenever I record an episode, I like to go out, I like to do my research. I'm a bit anal like that. And so I was looking at articles, and there are two different viewpoints on this. And I would like to point out that I have taken these facts and figures from a recent PwC or PricewaterhouseCoopers study. I have not gone out onto BuzzFeed. As much as I like BuzzFeed and consume a lot of their quizzes and articles regularly, this is an actual study that has been done, that has been commissioned by an institution, as opposed to, you know, little old Dave down the road just wrote it. So here's the interesting thing. In the UK, and I'm going to talk specifically about the UK market for a minute, and then we're going to look at what's going on in the rest of the world. But in the UK, there has been a clear divide in the spending habits of the average consumer. Okay, now in London, which was one of the major cities in the UK to be a Remain stronghold, you know, in terms of people in London did not want Brexit, right? What's actually happened with consumers in London, again, this has all been identified, is that 41% of people who are based in London and those surrounding areas that primarily voted for the UK to remain in the EU are spending less than ever before. And they've actively identified themselves as spending less. It's something that's been monitored. So what we're seeing is that the UK's major capital is losing revenue in a bigger way than ever before. And that obviously has a huge impact on the high street as a whole. It has a huge impact on certain industries. And it does mean that people are spending less because, you know, in their own words, there's a lot of uncertainty. They don't know how much money they're going to have. They don't know what they should, you know, do in terms of spending habits. And actually, a lot of people are also looking at the affiliations that the companies that they are purchasing from have with, you know, environmental change, climate change, political landscape, etc., etc. So people are being much more aware as consumers, are being much more diligent. However, in the north of England, which was primarily a Leave stronghold, 71% of consumers have said that they are not spending any less, that they are spending the same as ever before. And so you might go, well, that's all right. Like 71% of people are just like, that's cool, that's fine. We're not spending any less, so it's all good. But actually, what they haven't said is that they are spending more. And obviously, they're not living and spending in an area that has the same kind of financial constraints as London. London is one of the most expensive places to live in the world. And so actually, as a country, it doesn't matter that, you know, 71% of the people in one particular location are spending the same amount, because actually other locations that have higher wage brackets, have higher price tags on a lot of, like, even just basic items, they are losing money and it's dropping rapidly. So we have to be kind of honest about this. The market has shifted. It's not something that I'm just saying anymore. It's not something that I'm warning you about. Yes, I'm still harbinger of doom, but we are actively seeing it. This is what consumers are telling us. And so when we're selling to end consumers now, we have to start thinking about, what are they feeling? You know, what are they wanting to affiliate themselves with and why? You know, and I'm going to talk about this in a bit, but one of the major reasons that consumers gave from stopping buying products and services this year was, yes, politics, but also this idea that they didn't want to associate with companies that weren't doing good work to help change climate and the environmental obstacles that we're facing. They didn't want to affiliate with companies that were, going all out on using plastic, for example. Lots of people have written to a large food brand in the UK, and they've actually been sending them back their plastic. There was a big campaign over the summer where you could actually send your plastic back to this particular company in the post, because they felt it was so wrong that this company was not replacing their plastic with paper or another kind of recyclable material. So that's become important. And I think that sometimes we think it's less important online. We're like, well, obviously I tell everybody that I'm into climate change, and obviously I'm not flying 3,000 private jets across the world. But what we don't always think about is when we're talking about affiliating ourselves or associating ourselves with certain things, it's not just about what we are doing, it's also about who we are being, right? Nobody wants to associate themselves. And I did an episode about this a few weeks ago, so feel free to go and check it out, about, communicating to sell. But nobody wants to associate themselves with people who are always slagging other people off online, because guess what? If they do it to one person, they'll do it to you. Nobody wants to necessarily associate themselves with the people who, they take a few thousand pictures with famous or more famous people in order to build their reputation rather than focusing on results. Because as a consumer, we're savvy now. We want the results. We don't care about your photograph with insert guru here. Yeah. So do be careful. Do start to think about your reputation online. How are you positioning yourself? How are you presenting yourself? Do people want to be associated with you? Are you somebody that represents professionalism, results, integrity, without having to say it every 5 minutes? Like, that girl on Love Island last year, I'm loyal, she says. So she's like, sacking off her boyfriend. Or are you somebody who is participating in the noise? Perhaps you are somebody who is contributing to some of the negatives online, and now is the time to stop, because consumers are becoming savvier than ever. So let's talk about this, this kind of online space at the moment, and, what is actually going on. There are a few points that I've noticed over the last year, and there are ones that are more important than others. So forgive me for not going into every single one today, but it would make a very long episode, and in all honesty, some of them are not going to be relevant to you. So there's no point in me going on and on and on about things that aren't interesting. But here's the thing that I am noticing, and this is one of the biggest things. Memberships are dying. Okay? And it's not just memberships. I'm talking low ticket, high volume is seeing a rapid decline. And this is interesting for me because I've always said that unless you make memberships a primary model, it's very, very difficult to sustain them and to grow them, because of things like churn rates and, the fact that everybody and their dog has a membership these days, which means that people are buying more and more memberships. And then eventually they decide to quit one. And they go, oh my goodness, I'm spending like £600 a month on memberships. That's crazy, right? And then they go and quit all of them. And so what I'm actually seeing is that, memberships are dying in this space. And not, I'm not saying that, people out there who have a membership don't have one, but I am saying that we're seeing a rapid increase in people leaving memberships. And I'm hearing it from my clients, I'm hearing it from my peers, I'm hearing it and seeing it just around the industry in general, that membership sites, they are losing members, and that could be a cost thing. It could be, the reality in this space that people are starting to realize that if they're part of the membership, it requires a lot of self-motivation on their part to actually get the transformation they're looking for. It can also be as a result of memberships not having a clear purpose. Now, I was fortunate enough about a month ago now to speak at Retain Live for Mike and Callie Willows, or Mike Morrison and Callie Willows, who run the membership guys. And they are incredibly successful at teaching people how to create their own membership. They're incredibly successful at teaching people how to retain their members. And it was actually a really good eye-opener for me, because so many courses in this space are just teaching, put everything into a membership and then just, put it on sale all the time and it'll be fine. And they're also run by people that do not have their own memberships. And that really grinds my gears. If you don't have a membership, stop selling how to create one. You don't know. Maybe I should put that on a t-shirt. But anyway, it was really lovely, and it was so refreshing for me to see how Mike and Callie are teaching people differently, how they are teaching people not just to go out and create a membership, but actually to have a clear reason and purpose behind having a membership. And they're teaching different strategies in the market for retaining those members as well, continuing to make them happy. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go and speak about how to sell more to those members, how to make a genuine transformation, how to make more offers to those members, to upsell into other offerings that in a non-sleazy way. And that is something that is really powerful, because we are recognizing that low ticket, high volume is becoming harder and harder to sell and to retain. You know, you really do have to have, if you are going to run a membership now, a very clear purpose for it, and you have to have a very solid retention strategy for it, and you have to have an upsell strategy for it, so that you are maximizing not only the revenue that you're making, but also the transformation that is possible for your members. Okay, so that's one thing that I've noticed, and that goes across. I'm not just slating membership sites here. Like, I've had a very successful membership site, loved it, shut it down because ultimately it wasn't fulfilling its purpose for my members anymore, and that was what was important to me. But it's true of low ticket, high volume across the board at the moment. We're seeing subscription businesses having to change. Netflix, if you are somebody who buys Netflix, then you will have noticed, particularly in the UK, they are just about to put their prices up within the next month or so, I think, to $11.99 a month instead of $9.99. Now, you might think, well, Jess, it's £2. Who cares? Well, why do you think they're doing it? Question. When we have all of these subscription models out there, and they're $9.99 a month for $9.99 a month for Spotify, $7.99 a month for Amazon Prime, $9.99 for Netflix, however much it is for Now TV. Sam and I have all of these things, okay? We are the subscription gurus. We've got everything, all of the streaming services, but they're changing it for a reason. And you know, Netflix is one of the most subscribed services in the world. Year on year, they have more subscribers than ever before. So why the need to increase the cash flow, right? Is it because they're putting more money into amazing new shows that are incredibly binge worthy? I hope so. But also, are they anticipating something in the market? Are they anticipating a change? Are they anticipating that actually if they charge a little bit more every month, they'll have people who stay for longer and longer? You know, are they anticipating a drop-off in subscribers with the new economical landscape? Who knows? But here's the thing, across the board in the entrepreneurship space, we are seeing a decline in the low ticket, high volume space, because people are savvy. Customers are recognizing they need higher levels of transformation. They're recognizing that they'd rather pay more once and get the transformation they want than pay out to a bunch of different places and actually never get it at all, because they're not necessarily self-motivated enough to do the work required. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. This is not us saying that customers are lazy, but this is customers being financially savvy. Okay. Now, another thing we have here, and I was talking earlier, I said I'd dig into like the world's economical and political landscape. Look, you know, I am not a politician, and I am also not a political correspondent in any way, shape or form. I'm also not a financial advisor. So there are lots of things that, you know, I can say I'm noticing as somebody in sales, but don't take what I say and go, I'm not going to set up this kind of bank account because Jess reckons, right? That's not what we're saying here. What I am saying is that the world's major organizations and major countries are shifting in ways that are beyond the average person's control. And the only way really for consumers or voters to retaliate is to change their behavior in some way. And so we are seeing different things. You know, we've seen trade agreements, worldwide trade agreements change recently. We're seeing countries arguing over political endeavors. And that all causes massive uncertainty across the board. So the world's consumers, they're changing their spending habits, and they are learning from what they have seen across the political landscape, and they're applying that to their buying habits. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, very simply, I mean that over the last couple of years, the average person has not had much to celebrate in terms of political change. You know, they've voted for things and then they've been told, oh yeah, you voted for that, but sucker, you're not going to get it. And that doesn't make people that, that trusting, So actually we are seeing that the average consumer has become more cynical about spending money. We're seeing that the average consumer has become relatively disillusioned, and particularly in the online space, I'm seeing a lot of people who are very, very disillusioned in the space. They're tired of getting burnt. They're tired of being cashed out and coached out. They just, they're done. They're cooked. And we have to look at that, and we have to understand, well, how can we make ourselves more credible in this market? What can we be doing to position ourselves differently to show people that we actually can be trusted? And no, it's not about going and creating endless amounts of content, because we all know that that's not going to help. It's actually about demonstrating, can you get these people results? Do you genuinely have the skills? Or did you just rock up one day after selling Tupperware and being like, I can be a full-on marketing director. Okay, sure. Really think now is the time to not only think about your positioning and think about how you're demonstrating credibility and authority, but also to be okay with charging appropriately for the transformation that you provide. If you have the skills, you deserve to be paid for them, and you deserve to be paid well. And as we know that low ticket, high volume is kind of on a bit of a decline at the moment, it makes sense for you to start thinking about what you could do at premium level. Okay. Another interesting question that I was thinking about when I was thinking about recording this episode was, am I suffering? Is my business suffering? And the answer is no, which is really interesting for me. I've gone back. I had a chat with my accountant a few weeks ago because I paid a tax bill. Yay. Am I the only person who sat here thinking, really, HMRC? Like, really? But no, my business is not suffering. It's growing. And it's growing year on year. This year we grew by 21.2%, which is good. Do I feel slightly guilty about that sometimes? Yeah. But that's another episode, I think. But when I looked at why my business isn't suffering, there were three main areas that I could attribute that to. One is I sell every day, without fail, right? And I'm not embarrassed by selling. And I've seen a lot of people this year who really are. They're like, oh, how can I sell without anyone else know that I'm selling to them? Oh, can my marketing not just do the sales job for me? Oh, it feels really gross. And there is a part of me that wants to say, don't worry, try this strategy, do this thing, and try and make it easy, because it is. There is also part of me that wants to say, if you want to have a business that exists into 2020, it doesn't matter anymore what you feel about selling. It is completely irrelevant. What matters is that you do it, because if you don't, you're going to be sat here next December going, I don't have a business. And that is it. And I'm conscious that I'm usually very, very chirpy about this. I'm like, there's always another way, but there is not. If you are somebody who has sat here for a year justifying, oh, well, I don't have to sell because I'm just going to do better marketing. Oh, well, I don't want to sell because it makes me feel sleazy. Oh, well, go and find the solution. Because otherwise next year, I promise you, you will not be in this marketplace. And that scares me, right? Because, when I was doing the research for this episode, I'm looking at these articles and I'm looking at it thinking, well, hang on a minute. I've got a lot of friends who work for multinational corporations. I, work and do a lot of consultancy with big companies. I'm regularly asked my opinion on these things, and I can see that these companies have contingency plans. And I'm reading studies from PwC, from the Bank of England, saying multinational corporations have a Brexit contingency plan, but small businesses do not. And that is why we will lose them. What more can we say? My business is not suffering because I sell every day. I don't get embarrassed by it. I don't really care if it upsets some people. I'm kind of okay with the fact that some people do not want to be sold to. And if they mistakenly stumble across me in somewhere along the internet, then I'm not going to be the right fit for them, and they might get a little bit uptight about it. That is okay, because ultimately my priority and my focus on this whole, probably, I don't know, 2-year period that we're going to go through is my business needs to make it. My business needs to survive and thrive through it. And so I'm not embarrassed about selling, and I won't be. I refuse to be. I'm glad that I do it, because the people who buy from me are ultimately the people who succeed. Their businesses will also survive and thrive because they will learn the one skill that is going to make sure that whatever happens, their business will be able to be profitable and will be able to sustain them. So no, absolutely I'm not worried about that. And you should be that confident in selling your skills and your strategies and your, ability as well. Because every single person, the ROI does not have to be money, but every single person at this point needs to know, if you are running a business, that you are so certain in what it's going to bring to the world, that you are not even unafraid, that you are unapologetic about selling from this point forward. Okay. Why else is my business not suffering? Most of my stuff is premium. And it's interesting because when we talk about premium, I think premium has changed over the last 2 years. I would argue that 5 years ago, I was saying to people, premium is 5,000 and above. A couple of years ago, it was 3,000 above. And I would now argue that most people would define premium products or services as being 1,500 or above. Right? We are seeing this change in numbers, and most of my stuff is. So, I set out from the beginning that it doesn't just cost more, but my products and services are there to get a bigger transformation for people. And I'm also okay with the fact that the price point puts some people off. It's not accessible for everybody. And again, we've talked about this on the podcast. Sometimes I feel guilty about that. But it also does give those people something to aspire to. We don't sell anything to anybody who says, if somebody says, look, I really cannot afford that, then we go, do not buy it then. Right? We don't do the hard sell. And we encourage people to save and buy next time. Or we'll go, okay, then why don't you try this option that works within a budget range? We'll get you to that next level where it might be a bit easier for you. Yeah. But that's one of the major reasons I would say that my business isn't suffering. We sell premium products. We sell high-level transformation. And I work incredibly hard to make sure that people get what they need from these courses and programs and services and in-person events and things, so that A, people get the best results for them, and B, that they come back. We get a lot of repeat business, and that is, that's a big part of it. Selling premium products and services, a big part of it is repeat business, not necessarily from customers coming back and buying the same thing again, obviously, but from them recommending, referring, all that kind of stuff. And then the third reason I would say my business isn't suffering is because of positioning. I've worked really hard over the last year, probably 18 months, to position my business differently. And it's interesting for me because when we talk about positioning, a lot of the time, people, especially when they're thinking about building up their brand reputation, are thinking about, well, who can I have photos with? And, how can I leverage somebody else's network and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't gone that way. Instead, I've focused on the problems that I solve for people. And so the positioning has become so much more specific around what problems does my company solve for a specific type of person. And I recorded an episode a few weeks ago about the one problem, one solution thing. So again, take a listen if it's something that interests you. But that increase in positioning, that ability to make sure that my audience understand, like, If they're buying something from me, it is designed to solve one problem and give them one solution and get them the very best result or outcome that they can from that situation. It's not designed to do everything. And as a result, it has meant that over the last year, like year and a half, I've become a much more sought after speaker, which has been awesome. You know, my book has sold way more copies than it did the year before, which is awesome. The podcast gets more listens, and the Selling to Corporate event is basically sold out. It's a very cool thing. It's also very humbling, you know, because I'm aware that not everybody is in the same position as me. And that's why I ultimately record episodes like this. It's not to make everybody sit there and go, oh, Jess's business is amazing and mine's shit. Because that's not really how I roll. But learn from what people around you are doing, adapt, and ultimately overcome the situations that we are going to face. And if you do need support, and here you go, here is where I'm going to say to you, I can help you. If you are somebody who is struggling, who is worried about your business, who isn't sure how it's going to look in 2020, you don't have a contingency plan, you're not really sure how it's going to navigate the, you know, the economical and political landscape, please get in touch. Go and apply for something like Evolve, or even just email me and say, Jess, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about my business, or I'm not really sure how I can take it to the next level, or it's making this money and that's kind of good, but ultimately I want to know how to recession proof myself or obstacle proof my business for next year. Be smart, like ask for help, book in a discovery call with me. You can go onto my website, you can go onto the contact page, and you can book a free 30-minute call with me. And I will sit there and we can go through an action plan for your business. And yeah, sure, at the end, you know what? If I do have something that's right for you, I'm going to tell you about it. But you're also going to get 30 minutes of my time where we talk specifically about your business, about what you will be able to change. You know, what can happen for you, how you really can stop your business being one of those that really struggles to navigate the next year. Okay, there are always options. So don't think, oh my goodness, I'm going to go on a call and Jess is going to give me this massive hard sell and I don't have any cash right now, or whatever that is. Go and book a call in and let's get an action plan for your business together. And then yes, if I have something that's right for you, I will tell you about it. If I don't, I won't. I might recommend you to someone else to help with a different element, whatever that looks like. But do not sit in silence this year. Do not sit there for the rest of this quarter going, oh, well, maybe December will be different. Oh, maybe January will be the month where I make a ton of money. Like, don't wait. Ask now, because otherwise what you're going to see is that the entire world is then trying to change at the same time, and you're going to be caught up in, you know, the rush, and you'll make mistakes. You know, plan ahead, plan thoroughly, and you won't have to worry. Okay. So if that is you, if you are thinking, okay, actually, I want to be positioned as the person who solves clear problems, who is able to charge premium prices, who is not going to get caught up in the world landscape and is just going to survive and thrive through this next period, get in touch. Like I say, go onto that contact page on my website, book in a call. We put the link in the show notes for you, and let's talk about your action plan. Yeah, because I'm genuinely, and I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, I don't know how I can make it any clearer. I don't want you to be left behind. I want you to make it through. I want you to thrive through this period. Economical change always means growth for some businesses. Yeah. The businesses that are smart, the businesses that plan ahead. So please make sure that that is you. Okay, so that's where we are. That is the reality of our landscape at the moment, certainly in the online space. You know, we are seeing a decline in certain areas, and we are seeing that people like me and like you can be are making it through, you know, by positioning in the right way, by offering premium services, by really tailoring your solutions to your audience. Okay, so it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. It is not doom and gloom. I just really want to make sure that everybody prepares for this in the best way. Now, this week, we also have on Friday on the show, we have Kelly O'Neill She's going to be talking about something really interesting, which is actually marketing to millionaires. Okay, so bear in mind, we've just talked about how premium services are helping us power through the current economical climate. If you are interested in hearing more about finding high ticket clients, or actually just marketing in the right way to people who are affluent, who are wealthy, who do have disposable income to spend on your services, then make sure that you do tune in on Friday. Kelly's going to be here. She's sharing some really, really epic tips and techniques around marketing to millionaires. It's a very, very cool episode. And as always, if you do need anything from me, if you need help, please make sure that you do just drop me an email, or like I say, if you do want to book in a call and talk about how you can change your business and how you can plan for the best possible outcomes in 2020, head to my website, head to that link in the show notes, and grab yourself a space in my calendar. I'll see you on Friday.